I woke up on my 80th birthday to a quiet that felt unfamiliar. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that presses against your chest and asks questions you've been avoiding for decades. No phone calls, no meetings, no one waiting on my decisions. Just sunlight slipping through thin curtains, landing on furniture I no longer recognized as meaningful. And for the first time in my life, I realized the race was over. Not because I had won, but because my body finally refused to keep running. For 60 years, I chased what they told me mattered. Money, status, security, respect, the American dream. And on the morning I turned 80, I looked around and understood something that still makes my throat tighten when I say it out loud. I had built a life that looked successful from the outside, but felt completely empty when I finally stopped moving. If you're listening to this and you're tired, not the I need a vacation tired, but the deep bone-level exhaustion that comes from pretending for too long, stay with me. Because this isn't a story about failure. It's a story about waking up late, and what I wish someone had told me much earlier. I was born into a country that promised something simple. Work hard. Stay disciplined. Delay joy. And one day, life will open its arms to you. They never said when, they just said, one day. My father believed it. My teachers believed it. Every billboard, every handshake, every promotion reinforced it. And so I learned early to ignore my body, ignore fatigue, ignore curiosity, ignore grief. There was always time later to rest, later to travel, later to sit still with the people I loved. Later became my favorite word. I wore stress like a badge of honor. Missed dinners were proof of dedication. Burnout was just weakness leaving the body. And when I finally reached milestones, they told me would feel like arrival. The promotions, the titles, the bigger houses, something strange happened. Nothing changed. The finish line kept moving, so I kept running. Tell me something in the comments, quietly, honestly. When did you first learn to ignore your own exhaustion? For decades, my calendar owned me. If someone needed a decision, I was there. If there was a crisis, I handled it. If something broke, I fixed it. People admired that. What they didn't see was how rarely anyone asked if I was okay. And worse, how rarely I asked myself. I told myself I was providing. I told myself I was protecting my family. But if I'm honest now, I was hiding. Busy is a powerful anesthetic. It numbs regret. It delays self-reflection. When you're always needed, you never have to ask whether you're fulfilled. Years passed like that. Children grew older without my presence. Friends drifted away without confrontation. My marriage survived, but thinned, not because of anger, because of absence. One day I realized I didn't know how to sit still with the people I loved. Silence made me uncomfortable. Work never did. If this is landing for you, if you're realizing how much of your identity is built around being needed, pause the video for a moment, and when you come back, ask yourself, who am I when no one needs me today? Here's something no one tells you. Success doesn't create memories. Presence does. I remember boardrooms more clearly than birthdays, deadlines more vividly than laughter. When people ask me about the good old days, I struggle, because the truth is, I was rarely there. My body was present. My mind was always elsewhere. I was living for a future version of myself that never arrived. And here's the cruel irony. By the time I had the freedom I thought I was working toward, I no longer had the energy to enjoy it. Travel felt heavy. Celebrations felt hollow. Rest felt undeserved. I had trained myself my entire life to equate stillness with failure. So when stillness finally arrived, it felt like punishment. If you're still chasing, still telling yourself you'll rest after this season, listen closely. Your nervous system is learning your habits faster than your bank account is growing. And it doesn't forget. No one warns you how quietly the body keeps track. The skipped meals, the sleepless nights, the clenched jaw, the shallow breaths. I didn't collapse dramatically. There was no movie-worthy breakdown, just a slow erosion. Doctor visits increased, medications multiplied. Energy faded, and yet I kept saying, I'll slow down next year. At 70, I told myself I was almost done. At 75, I said I couldn't stop now. At 80, My body made the decision for me. Here's the brutal truth I've earned the right to say: you don't retire from pressure culture. You either leave it intentionally, or it escorts you out when you're too weak to argue. If you're younger than me and listening, this isn't fear, it's permission. Permission to listen earlier than I did. That birthday morning, what shocked me wasn't the lack of achievement, it was the lack of meaning. I had money, I had a roof, I had proof I had made it. But I didn't have a sense of having lived. Time is the only currency that never forgives overspending. I spent mine like it was infinite, and suddenly, painfully, it wasn't. I sat on the edge of my bed and cried, not because I was broke, but because I realized how much life I had postponed. The walks not taken, the conversations rushed, the afternoons sacrificed to emails no one remembers. And I wondered something that still echoes. What if the dream wasn't meant to be chased, but inhabited? At 80, clarity arrives without negotiation. Here's what I know now, without doubt. Time is not something you save, it's something you spend. Your worth is not measured by your output. Rest is not a reward, it's a requirement. Being impressive is vastly overrated. Being present is rare and priceless. I used to believe legacy was what you leave behind. Now I understand it's how you show up while you're still here. If this video is resonating, if you feel seen, consider subscribing. Not because of me, but because these conversations are disappearing in a world addicted to speed. I would tell him this: you are not behind, you are not lazy, you do not need to earn rest through suffering. I would tell him that the dream changes shape as you age. That joy is quieter than ambition, but deeper. That enough arrives sooner than you think. That presence compounds faster than money. And most importantly, no one lies on their deathbed wishing they answered more emails. They wish they had noticed the days while they were happening. If you're still chasing, I won't tell you to quit, but I will invite you to ask better questions. What are you postponing that cannot wait? Who are you becoming while you're being responsible? And if nothing changes, will you wake up one day feeling like I did? This isn't about regret. It's about choosing sooner. If this spoke to you, leave a comment, not to explain, not to impress, but simply to say where you are in life right now. We read them, we need them, and sometimes, naming where you are is the first step toward finally arriving. I chased the American dream for 60 years. At 80, I woke up with nothing. And strangely, that was the moment everything finally became clear.